We are at Rainbow Falls. This is Trail 770. This is a black diamond single track. This is my very, very first single track I have ever done. I'm not sure I'm ready for this. Especially on muddy, oh gosh, where did he go?
Well, as I mentioned in the first part of this video, in part 1 that came out the other day, I was using a different microphone setup and camera setup. I had everything mounted on a different helmet, and I plugged in a different microphone, and I was using a combination of a wireless microphone, transmitter system, as well as some cables to connect everything. And it was just a quick thing that I had thrown together the night before. And at some point through this, the cable somewhere came unplugged, so I had a lot of silent video here. But what you just watched is my friend who just made that little hill climb right there. This is on that single track, and we got about 100 yards into the single track, and I chickened out. And I decided that it was going to be too much for me. It got up on the steep hillside, and it was pretty narrow, and there was some up and downs. My friend went a little bit further, and he said there was a hill climb, and I just really didn't feel comfortable doing those types of things just yet on something that steep. I think I need a single track that is not black diamond. I believe the black diamonds are rated as difficult. I need an easy single track or possibly a moderate single track, but I don't know if tackling a black diamond one right out of the gate is the best way to introduce myself to single track. So we turned around. My friend took that hill climb just to see if he could do it on that Honda and see how it worked with those tires that he has on there, those IRCs that those Hondas come with. And he did really good. He's a better rider than I am. But he didn't have any trouble with it at all, and he did everything that we did that day. And speaking of that Honda, as I mentioned in the little short 60-second video that I put up the other day about that Honda, I don't know what happened in the middle of that ride. I took that Honda out for about 10 minutes, and I talked the whole time about my first impressions of that bike. But I think I must have pushed the record button and actually stopped the recording when I thought I was turning it on. I don't know what happened, but I only had about that 60 seconds worth of footage, and that was really frustrating to me. But to recap briefly on my thoughts on what that Honda Sierra 450L felt like, the 2021s have a new EFI mapping that Honda has done in a way to try and address that flame out, choking, stalling issue that they had in 2019 and I think in 2020. This bike that he has that new mapping, and he says it really doesn't give him much trouble. Just occasionally at low RPMs, if he tries to blip the throttle and bounce over a log or something, sometimes there's a bit of a lag and it doesn't quite respond as quickly as he'd like. But I didn't feel any of that on my ride. Of course, I didn't do anything really low RPM. I felt that the engine pulled pretty well. It certainly doesn't have the aggression and the strength and the bite that my Beta 500 has, but I didn't expect it to. But having said that, it wasn't like it was this sluggish, weak feeling huge pig. The bike does weigh quite a bit more than my Beta, but you really don't feel it when you're moving. Now, if you took it out on single track and something tight and slow, technical, you might feel that extra weight. But overall, the bike is pretty well balanced. The engine performs really well. It's very smooth. The sitting down ergonomics, when you're sitting on the seat, very comfortable. Standing up, not so much. I would want bar risers probably. My friend mentioned the same thing. He needed the bars to be higher. Also, speaking of the bars, they are narrower than a typical dirt bike set of handlebars. And anybody that rides a lot of dirt bikes would notice that. But otherwise, I really felt that the bike was nice. Some of the alterations he had on the bike, he had handguards on it. He'd also put an aluminum skid plate. This is the previous owner that did these upgrades, not my friend who owns it now. but it did have an upgraded skid plate on it, and it did have the hand guards on it. And he'd had different aftermarket mirrors that he'd put on it as well. But I really liked it. And if you're kind of wondering if you should get a Honda CRF 450L or maybe get something else, and you can find one, find a Honda, I would say grab it, particularly if it's a 2021 with a new EFI mapping. I think that's probably the biggest key to making sure that that's what you want. But gosh, the way the bike market is now, used and new, they're hard to come by. All of them. I mean, showrooms are largely empty. Hopefully that might be solving itself a little bit coming up soon, because the 2022s will be arriving soon. But if you can snag one of those 2021 Honda CRF 450Ls and you're looking for a dual sport, I think it's a great machine. I thoroughly enjoyed riding it. It was very comfortable, very quiet, and definitely a lot of fun. Now, what happened here a little bit later on this trip is we got into a trail that I had encountered about a month earlier when I had been out there in that same area. And it's on one of my prior videos. In fact, I'll try and put a card up here for that one up here. Trail 631 in Rainbow Falls. We came up on that trail from the other end, not the end that I had started it on a month earlier. This was at the opposite end of the trail. And we worked our way through the entire thing, and I was really happy with how that went. For one thing, the trail is beautiful. And look at all this fog right here in the trees. That reminded me of a scene from Harry Potter when the Snatchers are looking for Harry and his friends out there in the woods in the mist. That's what it reminded me of. But I really enjoyed this trail because it's beautiful for one thing, even with it being foggy and whatnot. But at the same time, it has a lot of rough, steep spots where you're either going down some rocky, steep areas or you need to climb one. And there was a couple of spots where I would look at it and think, ooh, boy, do I want to try this. But I did. I did try it, and I got through it, and I was able to do all of them without crashing. I had one uphill climb through the rocks that I was pretty nervous about. I thought for sure I was going to loop that bike back on top of me, because it was fairly steep and I needed a fair bit of power to get up it. But I was able to control it with a little clutch work and keep that front tire mostly on the ground. And I was able to get through it. And I was very happy about that. And I like challenging myself and then being able to succeed at that challenge. So I really did enjoy that. But if anybody's going to be in the Colorado area, particularly Colorado Springs area, and you are thinking about going to the Rainbow Falls area, find Trail 631. And I think it's worth doing from either end. It's just a really scenic trail. Right now, this time of year, the aspen trees are changing colors, and it was just beautiful to ride through there. But anyways, guys, I'm going to try and show you some nice footage here of that trail. And then I think my audio recording actually comes back near the end.
Let's sing a song full of hope, full of pain. Why don't you sing along, my friend? For it's our last refrain. Forever young, ever strong, ever brave. Memories like this never end. No, they don't fade away. So when I'm gone, oh, when I'm gone, I'll be right there, close to the sun. Keep holding on, and I'll be right there, close to the sun, close to the sun. close to the sun. Keep holding on, and I'll be right there, close to the sun, close to the sun. Close to the sun. Keep holding on, and I'll be right there, close to the sun, close to the sun.
Oh, the aspen trees look so great this time of year. Love that yellow. I know I've mentioned that a few times, but it's true, I love it. Now, when I take my trip to another part of the state here in the next few days, I'm really hopeful that it is sunny, so I can bring you guys some really nice film footage. Today, I think the footage is nice, but it's just so dark and cloudy, misty. For a while earlier, I actually thought we were going to get rained on. So anyways, guys, we worked our way back down to Trail 631. Battery in my camera died partway down. I heard it, but I didn't stop in the middle of that trail to swap it out. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you coming along today as always. I would like a thumbs up to the video if you enjoyed it. Appreciate you hanging out with me to the end. And I will catch you on the next adventure.